from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS2 News at 5 p.m.
Record-breaking early voting races too close to call. Campaign 2018 has been a political barn burner that will decide the makeup of our federal, state, and local governments for years to come. It all comes down to tomorrow, with campaigns spending hundreds of millions of dollars to sway voters to put their candidates into office.
Most pundits are calling the midterms a referendum on President Trump. We have live team coverage of Campaign 2018 on this election eve. Tina Patel checks out the early voting here that could be a record breaker. And Randy Page dives into a House race that could turn a traditionally red seat blue. But first, let's go to CBS2 Orange County reporter Michelle Gili. She's live in Santa Ana with the key races there. Michelle.
You know what, you guys, the blue wave is something that's been talked about here in Orange County for months. Democrats competing for Congress are hoping that there is a surge in the number of people who vote for them in what is traditionally a Republican county.
And we're just calling to remind our voters to go out tomorrow and vote.
It's all hands on deck this election eve as congressional candidates across Orange County work for every vote.
We have to take back the House. Are you guys with me? Are we going to take back the House? Yeah. All right, let's go knock some doors.
Democrat Harley Ruda, who is hoping to flip the 48th congressional district in coastal Orange County by unseating 15-term incumbent Republican Dana Rohrabacher, pumped up his base this afternoon at a mini rally at his headquarters in Costa Mesa.
So when you are knocking on doors, remember, this is our democracy, this is our country, this is our time.
Rohrabacher told supporters over the weekend that people are trying to control the election with their billions of dollars. The congressman's campaign told us he was unavailable today and would not give us access to workers making get-out-the-vote calls. Attempts to cover the pre-election activities of Republican Young Kim were also unsuccessful. She's running in the 39th congressional district, which covers parts of L.A., San Bernardino, and Orange counties. Young's challenger is Democrat Gil Cisneros. He urged volunteers at a noontime gathering to keep the momentum going.
We got to keep running. We got to keep picking up speed, making sure we get out there knocking on doors, talking to people about what's important. Talking about health care, talking about immigration reform.
Incumbent Orange County Congresswoman Mimi Walters spent part of her day with volunteers in the 45th District who were working the phones.
We've had hundreds of volunteers come and help us with our campaign because they want to keep America moving forward again. And we're so excited. We have lots of people that are regulars that come every day making phone calls. We have lots of people out walking precincts, and we have huge energy with our campaign.
Katie Porter, the Democratic challenger, feels the excitement at her headquarters as well. Workers here are reaching out to Democrats and Republicans.
There are still lots of folks who are making up their mind, who are undecided voters, people who have got a ballot but haven't yet put that stamp on it or dropped it off at a polling location. And so we're just making sure that everybody understands what's at stake in this election and that they vote their values.
Now, the registrar here in Orange County is calling this an unusual election. He is using words like fired up and energized to describe the electorate. He says that the numbers as of today for early in-person voting are 130% ahead of the 2016 election. And remember, that was a presidential election. That's the latest live here in Santa Ana. I'm Michelle Gili. Back to you.
All right, Michelle. Well, it's a toss-up race in the 25th District where a first-time candidate is trying to unseat a two-term incumbent. CBS 2's Randy Page is live in Santa Clarita, where a Democratic millennial is running against a Republican military veteran. Randy.
Well, Paul, we are live at City Hall here in Santa Clarita because this is where people are walking in their mail-in ballots. Every one of these ballots is important because it is a dead heat right now between Republican incumbent Steve Knight and his Democratic challenger, Katie Hill.
There's 3 on that side and 2 on this side.
A small army of volunteers in Simi Valley today, tracking down voters one knock at a time. These foot soldiers are pounding the pavement for Katie Hill. Steve Knight's campaign tells us he has volunteers out here too. Incumbent Republican Steve Knight's campaign staff tells us he was busy making calls from his Santa Clarita campaign office today, but he's not made any public appearances. Katie Hill has been busy in all 3 of her storefront campaign offices today. This is the first time the 31-year-old former head of a nonprofit that helps the homeless has run for public office. But now, as a campaign veteran, what are her thoughts on this eve of her first election?
More than any policy position or anything like that, it's just about being a voice for people. It's about listening to what they're concerned about and showing that you care. And I think that the more we have of people who are willing to be transparent, who are willing to say, like, look, I don't have the answer for everything right now, but I promise to go and fight for you, then that's how we change politics as usual.
I'm Katie Hill, and I'm running for Congress.
After weeks of TV ads,
Representative Steve Knight has worked across the aisle.
Party leaders don't control me, and they never will.
Bipartisan action for clean energy.
And a much anticipated debate.
Steve Knight and Katie Hill, please come on out.
It's now down to the final hours before the polls open. And I want to point out, we were in contact with members of Congressman Knight's campaign staff. We asked for an on-camera interview with the congressman or any member of his staff, and so far they have not responded to that request. Live in Santa Clarita, Randy Page, CBS 2 News.
Randy, thank you. A busy day for California gubernatorial candidates as well. Republican businessman John Cox has been crisscrossing the state in a final push for votes. He started this morning campaigning throughout Northern California. There he is in Berkeley at an auto repair shop. Then he traveled to Sacramento before heading down here to Los Angeles. Tonight, Democratic candidate Gavin Newsom will hold a big Get Out the Vote rally up in San Francisco, and he started his morning down here in L.A. Newsom had breakfast with some local leaders at a Baldwin Hills restaurant. Also, as you can see, greeted diners, told everybody, you got to get out, got to vote. For more information on the upcoming election and the races you will see on the ballot, go to cbsla.com. Check out our extensive voter's guide. You'll find it on the right-hand side of the website.
A teacher punches a student in a confrontation that only escalates from there. Now that teacher is speaking out, and others are coming to his defense.
CBS 2's Dave Lopez is live in Maywood. This is interesting. Dave, what do they have to say?
Well, it certainly is. This is the school behind me, the Maywood Academy High School, and the support for this teacher is, well, quite frankly, overwhelming. Now, of course, he threw the punch that's been seen hundreds and hundreds of times through social media. He had to bail out $50,000. He faces charges in court on November 30th. He is holed up in his home, does not want to say anything, but the support for him on this campus, what we saw, overwhelming. It was a vicious right to the jaw in music class that sent a 14-year-old student sprawling. The man who delivered the blow, 64-year-old Marston Riley, the music teacher at Maywood Academy High School.
I just want to know if he's okay.
If he's okay?
Yeah.
You're concerned about Mr. Riley?
Yes.
How about the student?
The student, I don't really care about him.
And nearly all the students we talked to sided with Mr. Riley.
All the racial slurs of that kid, that kid was just being very disrespectful.
He's really calm, and he really respects his students, and he cares about his students a lot.
This is Marston Riley, and I'm letting you know that this GoFundMe page is legit.
On his GoFundMe page, Riley thanks all those who have contributed to his GoFundMe page. The contributions are getting close to the goal of $50,000.
I would have done the same thing.
Really?
Yes.
The daughter of this woman had Mr. Riley as a teacher last year.
Wow. Us as parents have to learn how to teach our kids how to respect teachers and older people.
How's he holding up? Nothing whatsoever? I mean, we understand he's getting a lot of support. Would we like to, come to the door and just thank the people? A woman in a very soft voice behind a closed door at Riley's Anaheim home said, quote, Mr. Riley has no interest in talking to anyone. Thank you. No comment. On the cell phone video, you can hear the 14-year-old calling Riley names, referring to him as, quote, bro, using the N-word and other racial slurs. He throws a basketball at Riley. Seconds later, the punch. This student said she was in the class that day. Do you blame Mr. Riley?
No.
Not at all?
No, not at all.
And this statement from the Maywood Academy faculty, quote, many Americans saw for the first time the deterioration of respect for teachers. It goes on. We have created an environment where disrespect, bullying, and intolerance can thrive. We were told Riley has taught at the school for 7 years, and from what we he's respected by both teachers and students.
We've been told by the school district that Mr. Riley for now has been reassigned. In simple English, that means he's been suspended with pay, and we don't know when he'll be back in the classroom. Again, he has a court appearance at the end of this month. And one other thing the faculty did, they made it very clear in their statement that they're going to ask Jackie Lacey, the district attorney, to please do not press any charges against Mr. Riley. From Maywood, Dave Lopez, CBS 2 News.
All right, well, we will see. Well, now to some breaking news in Inglewood, where police activity is creating a major traffic backup on the 405.
Yeah, we have Stu Mundell live up in Sky 2. Stu.
Well, Jeff, Pat, this police activity happening out here, 405 Inglewood, actually right at the Florence off-ramp. Now, both sides of the 405 shut down, only now for just touching on 20 minutes, and the backup is phenomenal. Southbound 405 freeway, you're basically on the brakes, almost stopped from the 10 freeway. Northbound 405, you're pretty much stopped and on the brakes from the 105, but we're looking a little bit farther with the power of the Sky 2 lens, and I can tell you Lawndale is probably where it's happening right now. It's coming to a slow crawl up to the 105. No time frame on when this is going to reopen out here on the 405. Again, freeway, the 405 freeway, closed both directions in Inglewood for police activity. No time frame on when it's going to reopen. Live in Sky 2, I'm Stu Mundell. Back to you two in the studio.
The 405, often called the busiest freeway in the country.
Well, it is even busier, right?
Yeah. All right, there is heartbreak today in Orange County, where a fire captain who was hit by a car died from his injuries. And
hundreds of fellow firefighters came out to salute him and support his family. CBS 2's Juan Fernandez is here to show us that emotional tribute.
Yeah, we're going to show it to you. Really, the support has been overwhelming. Costa Mesa Fire Captain Mike Kriza was riding his bike on Alicia Parkway in Mission Viejo on Saturday morning. He was training for an Ironman triathlon when he was struck. He died just before 7 this morning. A full honor guard of his fellow firefighters was there as his casket was brought out of Mission Hospital this morning. Police say the 25-year-old driver who hit him was under the influence of multiple prescription medications. He's being held in lieu of $100,000 bail. And not far from the coroner's office where Captain Kriza's body was brought today. Captain Kriza was 44 years old. He had a wife and 3 young daughters. The Costa Mesa Firefighters Association released a statement saying he exemplified what it means to be a loving husband and father. They also called him a friend and brother, and they vowed to always take care of his family. That example of brotherhood and care was on full display as Captain Kriza's body made its journey over to Santa Ana. Firefighters from all over Southern California were there to honor the captain, who was an 18-year veteran of the Costa Mesa Department and a firefighter in Orange County for 23 years. The police escorted procession lasted more than an hour. There were several spots where fire trucks pulled over to pay their respects. At the coroner's office, Captain Kriza's wife was given the American flag that his body was transported within the procession. His colleagues say Kriza was a great firefighter and even a better man.
Captain Kriza was one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Always had a smile on his face, and he's a very good man. Very good man. And so it's a deep, deep loss for the family and for our entire fire family.
A GoFundMe page has been set up for Captain Kriza's family. It has already quadrupled its original goal, but donations are still being accepted. We have a link under Seen on TV on our website. That's cbsla.com if you'd like to donate. Pat and Jeff, I'll send it back to you.
Wow. Juan, thank you. Next at 5, breaking news involving USA Gymnastics.
The major shakeup in the wake of the Larry Nassar sex abuse scandal. Plus this.
A steady stream of people casting their ballots in the Inland Empire. Why voters are telling us this election is so important.
And a bus full of people trapped in the path of a landslide. How those terrified passengers made a narrow escape.
And a USPS truck carves its own path. Watch this off-roading postal worker in action. Next at 5.
Hey everybody, I'm Garth Kemp. Wow, beautiful out there. What a day today. We'll have your whole forecast coming up.